Hi, welcome to this Excel tutorial video, and today we're going to continue in the series of videos of creating a custom data entry form. This is the 6th video in the series. I'm going to make assumptions that you've either watched the previous 5 or you've got enough understanding of custom forms and VBAs to know what I'm talking about. If you're unsure, then if you go back through the previous videos, they'll get you kind of up to speed to where we are now. So I'm not going to recap a great deal on what we've already done. In this tutorial, we're going to look at making our form a little bit more presentable. We're going to look at some of the options of how we can alter the controls so that as you're using the form, it flows a little bit better, it looks a little bit nicer. We've got some options of changing our mouse pointers, colours, making some buttons default and other buttons kind of work with the escape key. All sorts of different options that we can choose to set up our custom form. So let's get started. So here's the form here. If I click on this button, this is the button that brings our form to screen. And what we've got here is the controls that we've created in our form. And it begins here with this first name text box, and if I press tab and keep pressing tab, it should tab through our controls in a logical order. But you can see as we've kind of added things throughout these videos, the tab order has gone a bit messy. So let's fix that. If I exit the form, if I go to my developer tab and click on Visual Basic and I find my user form, I'll click on this first name text box, and if we go down here in our properties, we've got this tab index option. Now, the text box has tab index 1, and when we open our form, this text box has the focus. It's the one that has our cursor flashing in it. When we press tab, ideally we want it to go to the last name field, which is tab index 2, so that's correct. When I press tab again, I want it to go to male radio button. That currently has tab index 14, so I'm going to change that to tab index 3. And then click on female, I'm going to change that to tab index 4. Now as I go through these here, this is tab index 16. If I change this to 5, if one of the other controls has 5, then it's going to automatically change to the next available number. So I'm going to make this 5. I'm going to make this 6. 7. Oops, I shouldn't double click. 8, 9, 10, and finally we'll go back to the select name. We'll make that 11. Okay, so let's go back to our form and we'll tab through, and we can now see nice and neat it tabs correctly as it should. It doesn't stop at these other controls, even though they do have a tab order. They're not active, these labels, so it doesn't stop at those controls. It only stops at controls that you can actually interact with. Okay, so that's pretty good. Another option within kind of in the same kind of theme, if I click on this male radio button here, we gave it a tab order of 3. Below that there's, or tab index rather, below that there's this thing called the tab stop, and if I take that off and make it false, if we now go back to here, regardless of this having tab index 1, 2 and this being 3, if the tab stop is false, it won't stop there. So you see it jumps over that radio button and goes to the next one. I don't obviously want it to do that, so I'm going to put that back to how it was. Okay, now let's maybe reposition these things a little bit. So let's make our form a little bit larger. We've got these handles here, so we can make the form a little bit bigger. What I want to do maybe is, if you remember, I should stop double clicking on things. If you remember, you can highlight a bunch of controls by dragging your mouse. So I'm going to do that here. I'm going to just pull this out a little bit. And also, not just moving controls, but if I highlight these, I can then grab one of them, make them wider, and it'll make them all wider, which is pretty nifty. What I'm actually trying to do here is making the labels. There you go. So everything's on one line. And I'll just put this back here. I'm going to make these a little bit wider to here maybe. Now actually with these three, what I want to do is make these a little bit smaller. So I'm going to try and put these side by side. So let's just see if we can get that working. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now let's move these up a little bit. So we're just kind of making this a little bit neater. And then we'll make these buttons a little bit bigger. In fact, we could potentially just have these buttons at the bottom right here. I think they're all a little bit. Right, that looks pretty good. What we can now do is you can say, okay, I've got this form highlighted at the minute, not one of the controls, just the form itself. I can change the back colour of the form. So if I click on this drop down here with the back colour, I've got these options here which are kind of Windows specific colours. But now if I go to the palette, I can maybe make it that colour. I can change the border colour if I wish. I don't know whether it'll be that visible, but let's do that. And then each of these labels here, we can maybe make those a slightly different colour. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Just highlight those, and we can change the back colour of those. Oops. We can do the same with these three. And we can do the same with the other controls. So we've got these buttons here. We can change the colours of those. First of all, we can change the background colours. And then we can change the foreground colours. So we can say the it's not just going to be black. We'll burgundy, not so obvious there. And we can change the font if we wanted to. There's all sorts of kind of options we can do here. There we go. We'll change the colours a little bit, make it a little bit different. Let's have a look and see how it looks. Okay, I'm not known for making things, you know, my kind of artistic side. So yes, it looks a bit garish, but this is just an example. I'll close this down. Now, another option we can do is, you've got this option here. If I highlight this control, we've got this option of mouse pointer here. So in this drop down, we've got these options here that we can select. There's all the, you can see all the different options here. I'm going to select this cross here as a demonstration. So I've got the add button selected. I'm going to select option 2, which is the cross, mouse pointer cross, and nothing obvious kind of has happened there. But if I open the form up now and I hover my mouse around it and I go over that, you'll see that the mouse cursor has changed to that cross. So you can do it with any of these controls. You can change it so as you go over it, your mouse alters depending on, you know, the selections you've made. So let's go over there. I'm going to change that back to how it was. However, while I'm on this, I am going to make a different change to something else. So come on now. We do have this thing called a control tip text. So I've still got this add button highlighted. So I'm going to say here, add new record. I'll do the same with this. Control tip text on the first name field. Enter first name. And what that is when you hover over it with your mouse, it gives you a little tooltip. So let's have a little look at that. So if I hover over that, enter first name. If I hover over the button, add new record. That's pretty good. The last couple of things I want to show you in this video if we go back to here, we've got another couple of options. So if I'll highlight the one of these buttons, well, let me highlight the exit button first of all. We've got this cancel option, and it's false by default. If I make that true, what that means is that the press of this button can be activated by pressing escape on your keyboard. So if I come back to here and I open this up, and I've got my mouse elsewhere now, if I press escape, it's closed the form because it's clicked the exit form button. Now let me just do a slightly different demonstration of that. So I want to make that back to false, and I'm going to do the clear button and change that to be the cancel button. So now if I go to here and I put some text in, now I'm going to move my mouse away again, I want to press escape. It clears the form because the escape button has pressed the clear button. Okay, so usually, I mean, you maybe wouldn't have this on, but maybe you would have this on as part of the close form button being attributed to the escape key, and maybe you'd have something on there like a little message box to say, "Are you sure you meant to click this?" Because it's quite easy to do with your escape key. And we have kind of the opposite of that. So the cancel one here is for the escape key. We've also got this default button. So if I say that the exit form is my default button, when I change this, you'll see the exit form should change ever so slightly. So if I click true, see it's got that little bit of a dark rim around it. Now when I click on this, you see the exit button, the exit form button is ever so slightly darker than the other two. It is right now the default button. So if I press enter, it will press that that button. There you go. So that's the enter key, is the default button. I think for this video, that's all I'm going to show you in this video. Short and sweet, useful, a lot of kind of interesting options there that you can select and use should you want to. Any questions, as usual, any comments, please leave them below, and I'll reply to any comments that you've got. Any feedback's appreciated. Thanks very much for your time. See you next time.